Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Let's go. You literally can't make this up with what is happening. I mean, dang, I knew Trump was going to move fast, but I didn't think he was actually going to move this fast. Trump has already had a meeting with Zelensky from Ukraine and literally had Elon Musk on the call to figure out the deal that can be made with Putin. Remember, he said that he would have the war done before he even was inaugurated. The whole world is actually calming down right now because Trump is now the president-elect. The wars could soon be over by the looks of it. And on top of that, all of Trump's legal matters with the DOJ have officially been dropped. The Supreme Court ruling of presidential immunity has taken hold and they can't touch him anymore. This is insane, guys. I love it. What is even crazier, though, is that the FBI just thwarted another assassination attempt plot on Trump. This was an Iranian attempt. We have to keep the president safe. I mean, the dream team, we've got to get them going so they can do what they need to do. A lot of people are now expecting Trump to make things happen like never before. The Senate and the House races in Nevada and Arizona and also California are still ongoing. We have to keep we have to essentially wait it out. They said it could take another week, but people are getting more skeptical as each day passes because it seems like that there is only Democrats that are winning with what is being called in those specific places. It sounds super fishy, super sus. But we also have updated news on more government spend cuts. Elon Musk is already laying out his plan of which agencies to cut first and by how much. He is predicting that we could have a surplus in our national budget in the next 2 years. This would be amazing. It's been 23 years since we've had a surplus to get money back and pay down the national debt of almost $36 trillion. We got a ton more great news to share with you today. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help. And just want to say thank you to all of our members already killing it in the chat. True Life Chat. Y'all are the best. This channel, y'all make it happen. And we just want to say we are so thankful for everybody that gives a super chat donation. We are so grateful for your support and what we are trying to do. And we just want to continue serving you every day with the top news. But there's a lot to go over. I mean, from new assassination attempts to the calls with Zelensky, to the government spend cuts, to all the things that Trump is doing. We've got a great show for you today. Let's jump right into it. Check it out.
This week, politics changed forever. For my entire life, Democrats were the party of the middle class. Then the party took a weird turn, trading American workers for rich liberals. Democrats sent jobs overseas and filled the remaining ones with migrants. Then they sold out the middle class for solar panels. They told us it was to save the environment, but really it was just to give their friends fat green government contracts. This massive spending turbocharged inflation, while Democrats shut down pipelines. When Americans complained, Democrats called them racist and said they didn't really care about Mother Earth. Trump came in and said he'd fix your problems. His tent grew. Kamala's shrank. Democrats thought if they insulted voters, they'd come home. That didn't work. Kamala hired celebrities and pushed workers away.
And in the end, celebrities who are worth hundreds of millions, if not billions, who most American citizens feel are incredibly detached from their way of life and their quality of life, we're not going to get away in guilting them into doing something different than what their experience says is going on and what they should do about it.
Now the Republican Party's bigger than ever. Trump added voters in almost 100% of American counties. Look at that.
Wow.
America's moving right. Democrats can't figure it out. They were confused in 2016. Now they're completely lost. But it's simple. We want safe streets and cheap groceries.
3 weeks ago, somebody who was going to be voting for Kamala Harris came up to me and said, "Oh, my God, Trump's going to win." I go, "Why is that?" He goes, I went to the grocery store. Butter's over $3. It actually, what everything we're hearing after the election is,
I'm just saying, the $7.
What's that?
The $7.
What's that? Butter is $7?
Yeah.
What? Is it framed in gold?
If Democrats and the media listen to voters instead of laughing in their face, they may have seen the landslide coming. But it doesn't look like they've learned anything.
What is the lesson that your party should have learned?
Well, the Democratic Party worked very hard, and they raised, substantial sum of money. We had great candidates, and so Trump had a following, basically generally led by whites. White males voted in big numbers. It is not that Democrats did not work hard, did not do a great job. We had an unusual situation where we had a black woman, which this country has never seen before.
Maxine Waters, no relation, keeps blaming racism and sexism, but that doesn't square with Trump winning more minorities and women.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I love how he said that. Maxine Waters, no relation, because his name's Jesse Waters. I don't know. I just thought that was funny.
Democrats keep blaming isms for losing so they can avoid the hard truth. They govern like garbage. And they can't face the fact that their ideas are rotten. Their results are even worse. It's easier just to call you sexist.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border.
It's
the border
misogyny.
crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We
Misogyny
need to
and
take some
sexism.
lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not misogyny and sexism.
Who's there? Oh my gosh, it's Whoopi.
Fox News alert, Republicans just picked up another Senate seat. Republican Dave McCormick declared the winner in Pennsylvania, defeating Democrat incumbent Bob Casey. The race has officially been called, but Casey's refusing to accept the results of the election and refusing to concede, which we were told was a crime against democracy. We're still waiting for calls in Nevada and Arizona. Republicans are trailing ever so slightly in both of those races, but it's not over until it's over. A 53-seat majority in the Senate would give Donald Trump pretty comfortable margin to confirm his cabinet and judicial nominees and move his agenda forward. The House hasn't been called, but Republicans are cautiously optimistic they'll keep it. On to another Fox News alert. Donald Trump has announced his first hire. Susie Wiles, his 2024 campaign manager, has been named the White House Chief of Staff.
I love it.
Susie's been Trump's side throughout the entire campaign. She's going to become the first ever female chief of staff in U.S. history, which is strange because Democrats say Trump hates women. I don't know if you guys know this, but Susie's the daughter of legendary NFL announcer Pat Summerall. So we know she comes from good stock. There's already names being floated to lead the State Department. You guys want to hear them? Let's go. Senator Marco Rubio is apparently a top contender. Rick Grinnell's name's also in the mix for Secretary of State, as well as possibly running the CIA.
Ooh.
For Defense Department, we're looking at Congressman Mike Waltz and Mike Pompeo for defense. Pompeo not stopping until he's held every single cabinet position. We're also hearing Tom Homan's being considered for Homeland Security. And there's a lot of talk about who could be named press secretary. We're hearing Trump's campaign spokesman, Caroline Leavitt, is a top contender.
What?
We're also hearing Republican CNN contributor Scott Jennings could be in the
Our
running.
boy Scott Jennings.
We're also hearing other cabinet positions might go to Vivek Ramaswamy, Doug Burgum, and there's a lot of speculation about where Tulsi, RFK Jr., Tim Scott, and Kevin
the
McCarthy
dream team,
could land in the
baby.
administration. And sources tell us prime time that Johnny's being considered for Secretary of Transportation.
Guys, I'm telling you, the dream team is coming together like never before. It is beautiful. So I want to give you an update on where things are at. I'm going to refresh this real quick. This is wonderful. Man, look at this crap. I mean, seriously, everybody's called this except the Associated Press on Nevada and Arizona. And it's just crazy how they still won't call it the AP, but that's whatever. So right now, the GOP is 53 to 45. That's insane. Like, thank God. Flipped 4 seats, and there's still 2 seats available. Kerry Lake and another one out of Nevada. So we'll see with that. But this is the big one everybody's looking at. Where are we at with the House majority? Remember, Trump needs all 3. He's got the presidency. He's got the Senate. We need the House in order to make things happen. I wanted to show you some additional things of what's actually going on. Because, again, too, remember, especially with the House, if you look at just the amount of time it's taking, people are so skeptical of what's going on. But nevertheless, check this out. Trump is not waiting whatsoever. Elon Musk joined President-elect Donald Trump's call with Ukrainian President Zelensky to discuss ending the war with Russia. They know that he's not playing around, everybody. That's what we call leadership. You call and you end it. You do what you need to do. You make the deal. On top of that, this is the most beautiful thing ever. President-elect Trump, I am calling for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. No more Pelosi's or Schumer's or Mitch McConnell's. No more Biden's. No more career politicians. You get in there, you serve 2 terms, then get your butt out and go do something in the private sector and give back to America. And then, I'm telling you, people are sore. Look what's happening. Look what they're doing at one of the buildings that was painted with a Kamala Harris whole thing for the election. They don't covering that stuff up, everybody. I mean, just literally just painting it all away, moving on. It is what it is, everybody. But there's more things of what's going on behind the scenes you need to hear about because, again, too, we got to make sure that things happen. Check this out.
All right, fellas, let's go. Folks, we delivered. There is now a mandate. There has been a unanimous.
Judy Lynn Loving Spirit, thank you so much for gifting the One True Life News membership. Enjoy, Connor. Welcome to the fam. Y'all show them some love in the chat, everybody.
Swing state sweep. There is a 300-plus electoral college sweep. There is a popular vote sweep. There is a House of Representatives hold. There is a massive expansion of a new Senate Republican majority. State houses in Michigan and elsewhere have been taken back by the Republican Party. The people, the Bongino Army, the Charlie Kirk Army, the Mark Levin Army, the Sean Hannity Army. All of these people have their followers. There's a lot of crossover. The Steve Bannon Group. There's a ton of people. Benny Johnson, all the big shows. We delivered. We delivered.
Yes.
Our job was to use this thing, the microphone, to motivate the wonderful patriots on the other side of that camera to go and do, to fill in that bubble. We did it. We got it done for you. This is a republic, a representative democracy. It's not a direct democracy. It is not a direct democracy. We elect you to do our bidding. We did it. Now it's up to you to get it done. You have a minimum of 2 years until the midterms. You have 2 years. We will accept no excuses. I'm not trying to be a about it. I'm not trying to be demanding. I'm just telling you the facts. We elected you in a representative democracy to represent us. We now have demands too. The border closed. The tax cuts renewed.
Yes.
I want health care cleaned up. I want the government out of it. I want the regulatory burden of the United States cleaned up. School choice. I want the Second Amendment protected. I want this done. Bongino Army, you want this done or not? Put it in the chat. I want to see a big yes. Throw an American flag emoji in there too. It is our time now. We have 2 years to get this done. No excuses. None. I don't want to hear any, oh, we'll get them next time. There's no next time. There's now.
Yes, we have to do it now.
The world is about living in the present. The future hasn't happened yet. The past is already gone. I'm not a big Eckhart Tolle guy, but if you ever read the book, The Power of Now, the now is all that matters. You are living in only the present. Time is washing over you. Do it now. Now. We asked, is it bad enough yet? The answer was yes, and we did that. By the way, you delivered it today on a Friday with some good news. Michael, tell me you didn't love this clip of the mooch. Come on, just be honest. That's why he jumped out of the chair and got me all, I was ready to go do a double leg takedown on the guy. I thought he was going to resign and go loony on me or something like that. Dude jumped up whoosh, freaking Sho Kosugi ninja style. If you watch the ninja movies in the 80s and 90s. You know Anthony Scaramucci, he lasted about 5 minutes as the press secretary, humiliated himself, and then decided he had a future in the media becoming an anti-Trump D-bag. You remember that guy? They called him the Mooch. If your nickname is the Mooch, you should seek a new line of work.
That is true.
Here he is. He goes on CNBC with the absolutely incredible Joe Kernan, who I'm really starting to love. Guy, you starting to like this guy? This guy, he's like, yes, yeah. Guy don't respond to it. He's like talking to a mousetrap. You're never going to get an answer out of this guy. That's why when he says something, you better listen. Joe Kernan is becoming a rock star on this show, along with Scott Jennings. Here he is over. Scott Jennings takes the cake. But Joe Kernan, you're rapidly moving into our number one spot. Here's Joe Kernan at CNBC asking the mooch, hey, man, are you embarrassed a little bit or humbled for trying to stay on TV with your anti-Trump routine? This is where savor every second of this gloriousness. This is delicious. Watch this.
The rhetoric got heated everywhere. You got pretty heated, Anthony, at times.
Joe, how did I get heated? What did I say, Joe?
About Trump?
Yeah, what did I say? I said I repeated what he was saying. I said this is wrong.
Anthony,
Come on,
you have had an utter disdain for Trump. You'll always be welcome at the table of legacy media and have people nodding as you trash Trump. That's always going to happen. But aren't you the slightest bit embarrassed or at least humbled about how wrong you were about the feeling of most Americans, let me finish, and for enthusiastically supporting a candidate who a majority of people thought had no business being anywhere near the Oval Office? And you're a Republican, and you saw all the different policies that she was talking about are anathema to what you thought your whole life, and yet you went along with it. Do you ever eat any crow, or not even a little crow wing, really like a little capon? Or you just, I mean, Michael Avenatti could still be on TV trashing Trump. You'll always find a place on TV. If he wasn't in prison, he'd still be on CNN running for president with Brian Stelter. Just give me a little bit, Anthony, about how wrong you were.
Dude, do we have the people's elbow? I mean, if there was ever a dropping of the people's elbow, do you see the mooch sitting there like, what do I do? What do I say? Somebody have a diaper? Do you have a wipey to clean me up after this? How is this guy even back on TV? This guy claims...
I'm sorry to interrupt everybody, but I'm not joking. I've never seen so many people red-pilled like never before. You got Joe Kern. You've got... who's the other guy? You got Joe Kern, and then there was a guy on not Scott Jennings on CNN, but basically people are waking up because these people on MSNBC and what I've got to show you next, you would never have heard out of their mouths that Trump is the way to go. Joe Rogan, he's been red-pilled. He supported Trump. Elon Musk was red-pilled. Well, guess what? Red-pilled represents that flag. Let's go.
To be this big Republican advocate, and I'm fighting for the country by fighting against Donald Trump, and he doesn't have a single thing in response to say his answer was embarrassing. Let me tell you, he goes back on about I know Donald Trump's personality. You don't know better than 75 million people there. Mooch.
Boom.
Sit down. Shut up. Your time is over. Bye now. Folks, I never let you down. I try not to. When I tell you something's going to happen, it's because I'm getting it either from sources or from having done this now 15 years and been involved in this movement. I can see things and see around corners coming from a mile away.
Bongino's connected.
I told you 6 months ago that if Kamala Harris is to become the nominee and Joe Biden drops out, that when she loses, go back and listen to the shows, the Democrat cannibalism theory is going to be like nothing you've ever seen. You ever see that movie Alive where they eat each other in the mountains? The eating of each other, they didn't even wait to start starving. They've got a plate of McDonald's in front of them, and they're just eating each other anyway. They are slicing each other to ribbons right now, and I'm sorry, man, but it is glorious to watch. Glorious. Axios, communist newsletter this morning. Deep Democrat depression. One big thing, right at the top. The Harris and Biden camps are now blaming each other. Yes. Finger-pointing advisors to Vice President Harris and Biden agree on one thing. President-elect Trump's victory is the other one's fault. Axios' Alex Thompson writes, it goes on with a manifesto about how Biden thinks Kamala sucks and Kamala thinks Biden should have got out sooner. I'm going to say, yes, keep it going. Eat each other. I hear there's a lot of meat around the rump region. Keep it up. We are enjoying every second of this. You spent the last few years calling us Nazis, fascists, racists, misogynists, rednecks, clingers, bitter clingers. You called us every nasty name in the book. Clitters. It's like bitter and clingers in one. Even worse. Now is our time.
Yes.
That's what you get.
I love it. Now is the time because, again, too, they tried everything under the book. Well, this just got released today, this morning, couple of hours ago. Jack Smith has filed a motion to remove all remaining court dates in his witch hunt against Trump. The next stop will be to drop all the cases. So they're taking the process to drop everything. There was supposed to be in a couple of weeks all the court cases, all the just going over the jury selection, all these things. It's not happening. People overwhelmingly saw this as just weaponization of the government, and they said no. But this is the thing. Everybody is calling this now the mandate. It's now a mandate. Everything that Trump said he has to do, or that he said he was going to do, he has to do. Check this out. I love this. Check this out.
The breadth of the improvement that Donald Trump had. Holy Toledo. All right.
Toledo.
Trump gained ground in 49 states and the District of Columbia compared to 2020. I went back through the record books. When was the last time a party gained in so many different places? You have to go all the way back to 1992 when Bill Clinton improved upon Michael Dukakis's performance in 49 states, plus the District of Columbia. The bottom line is no matter where you looked on the map, Kate Baldwin, no matter where you looked, Donald Trump was improving on where he did 4 years ago, except for Washington State. It is no wonder that at this particular point, he looks like he's going to be the first Republican to win the popular vote since George W. Bush back in 2004.
And to pull that off, he gained ground with groups that Republicans do not generally count as part of their winning coalition, or really at all. How much ground did he gain?
Yeah, holy Toledo. It's just like, oh my goodness gracious. These
Holy
are the types
Toledo,
of groups
everybody.
that you would never have thought that Donald Trump would have gained so much support among 8 years ago when he first won against Hillary Clinton. Trump's was the best GOP showing among 18 to 29-year-olds in 20 years. You have to go all the way back to 2004.
Wow.
How about among black voters? It was the best performance for a Republican candidate for president in 48 years since Gerald Ford back in 1976. And among Hispanic voters, the exit polls only go back since 1972. But Donald Trump's performance on Tuesday was the best for a Republican presidential candidate in exit poll history. He literally goes all the way back through history and breaks history. This is what we're talking about, Kate Baldwin. Groups that you never thought that Donald Trump would do well among, even for a Republican candidate, that is what he did. If the 2016 election was about Donald Trump breaking through with white working class voters, this election was about breaking through and going to that Democratic coalition and tearing it apart.
And it wasn't just what he did for his own support. It trickled down to helping the Senate and helping in the House.
Yeah. So, a lot of talk this morning and this week is, the GOP is going to have a Senate majority. We don't know if the Republicans are going to have a House majority, but we think that that's the most likely to be the case. But I want you to look at the 2024 House GOP national vote showing. So this is the House popular vote. Currently, the GOP is ahead by 5 points. I expect that to shrink a little bit as some of the California results come in. But if let's just say he wins, the House GOP wins by more than 2.6 points, it will be the best House GOP showing in a presidential year in the House popular vote since 1928.
Wow.
If there's any viewer out there who is that old, God bless you. But the bottom line is it was probably the best House GOP national vote showing during most of our viewers' lifetimes.
Wow. I'm telling you, this is such a historic time. We are literally living through history because of what has happened with Trump and people, but there's a mandate. But I'm telling you, this is crazy because it's just like, it's not going to stop, everybody. There's people that do not want Trump as the leader of the free world, and I'm glad that they caught this because there was going to be another assassination attempt. Check this out.
We have some breaking news this hour. The Justice Department has just unsealed criminal charges in a thwarted Iranian plot to kill President-elect Donald Trump. David Sputton has the latest. David.
Kaylee, we have known there has been a
steady threat stream toward the life of President-elect Donald Trump originating in Iran. This is one more example. According to the Justice Department, specifically the Southern District of New York, they're looking for a 51-year-old who they believe resides in Iran. His name is Farhad Shakiri. And according to the Justice Department, he was working with the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps on a plot to kill then former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, just a few months ago, said, quote, it would cost a huge amount of money. That's what he allegedly told the folks back in Iran. Now, separately, he is also accused of employing multiple associates in New York City to surveil and murder an unnamed U.S. citizen that opposed the Iranian regime in New York. Now, Kayleigh, this all stems from former President Trump's directive to kill General Qasem Soleimani back in January of 2020. Since then, national security officials have told Fox News the threat stream toward President-elect Trump's life has really increased.
Wow.
This is one more example. So his name is Farhad Shakiri, and he is accused.
And I'm sorry to interrupt everybody, but do y'all realize how, God's mercy? I'm serious. When you think about how many times they could have taken him out, the FBI, the Secret Service were just not on doing their jobs to the level that they should have been. And thank God something didn't happen to him before, because when they see it's ever increasing, this is nuts.
Of working with the Iran National Guard Corps to kill President-elect Donald Trump. Kayleigh.
David, I want to ask you one question about what you just said there, and that is the killing of Soleimani. We had back on September 27th an indictment against 3 Iranians in the hacking of Trump's campaign. And at the top of that indictment, something stood out to me, and it was the date at which the hacking attempts began to target Trump. At the time, he didn't have a campaign, but to target Trump specifically came at the direction after the killing of Soleimani. We also know a dozen Trump officials were on an Iranian hit list. The death of Soleimani, that foreign policy decision, has caused these outpouring of actions from the Iranians and the subsequent indictments.
Oh, absolutely. And this indictment today from the Justice Department uses Soleimani's name and uses the word vengeance. The fact that Trump ordered the killing of Soleimani, he's been dealing with these threats for years since that. So this is absolutely related to the killing of Soleimani, according to the Justice Department. But the most important thing is this man remains at large, 51 years old, lives in Iran. That's where he is believed to be right now. As we look at a picture of the late Soleimani on the television. Kayleigh.
David, thank you.
Thank you.
Martha, I don't know if Donald Trump, when he made that decision to kill Soleimani, and in concert with Robert O'Brien, who was National Security Advisor, and Pompeo, who was Secretary of State, all of these individuals became the targets of Iranian assassination. I am not sure many other presidents would have sat back and said, let's do this, knowing the repercussions for potentially national security and for themselves.
Well, we know that at least one of them didn't do that. Because it certainly was on the radar during the Obama administration as well, what Soleimani was doing. He was, doing nuclear weapons trade and development. It was the person who was behind so much of this. So it is a very bold move that was taken, and they have lived with the repercussions of it all these years. I mean, Secretary Pompeo still walks around with a number of security guards everywhere he goes. It changed their lives, really. Forever. And I would also mention that the other 2 men who were arrested in this, who are on U.S. soil, appear to have been involved with the targeting of, I believe, this is about the Masih Alinejad case in Brooklyn, where a man with an AK-47 style weapon showed up on her doorstep. She's a huge critic of the Iranian government. So this is a large-scale effort by the Iranian government to kill not only President Trump and others around him, but anyone who's a critic.
You know, Guy, after the killing of Soleimani, I remember some critics saying, oh, this was not a wise move because Iran may retaliate and this could lead to a war, et cetera. That criticism was unfounded. What it led to were 3 Middle East peace deals, 4 actually. And this is news that came out overnight. We heard 3 days since Tuesday, 3 days. Trump is not in office, but the prospect of Trump being in office is. And the news is this: Qatar has told Hamas officials in the country, you are no longer welcome here. Ooh. What changed? What changed was the election of Donald Trump. They see him coming in power, and all of the Middle East is on notice.
Yes, and I'm telling you this, Everybody is on notice big time with what's happening. Because again, too, it's not just about Trump. It's about Trump and the dream team, about getting the border. Whenever, think about it like this. In order for a terrorist to get to Trump, they have to be in the country, or they have to be able, like if this person is going to try to take out Trump, and the border wall, which has been so open, there's been so many people that have come through, and we just didn't know who was coming through, and nobody was being vetted properly. And that's why we have all those crazy numbers. But check this out. So there's breaking news of Trump's former border commission, Mark Morgan, is calling for the president-elect to withhold federal funds from any city or state that grants sanctuary to illegal aliens. So remember what Trump said, that whenever these sanctuary states say, hey, we're going to let you in even though you illegally came in, they're breaking federal law. Trump has already said that at the federal level, he is going to eliminate any sanctuary state. If you're going to be a sanctuary state, you do not get federal funding. That is what he has said. So he said that. Now this guy, Mark Morgan, is backing it up. They're literally not playing around anymore. It is time. They're like, it's time to get crap in order. It's time to get the dream team and just add them to make sure that everything looks good. Check this out, because we're hearing more about who's going to be on Trump's cabinet, and it's a very, very big deal who's going to help run the country with him. Check this out.
Starting to take shape, President-elect Trump has appointed Susie Wiles to be his new White House Chief of Staff. First woman to hold the title. Very impressive resume, as you can see right behind me. You got her as running the campaign from A to Z. She's also a longtime Florida-based Republican strategist, knows the area, also knows Washington. As for the other cabinet members, you got Secretary of State. You have these finalists here. You got Haggerty, Rubio, and Rick Grinnell. Rubio's in a Senate seat that could easily be replaced by a Republican governor. Bill Haggerty is also in a positive spot there. Also, Secretary of Defense, Mike Waltz, Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo already had two positions. Secretary of State, Congressman Mike Waltz, big military background, also served with Dick Cheney as an advisor to him. Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf's had a job as acting, and Tom Homan could certainly do it. He also was ICE director. And on the other side, a very key position, you have Attorney General Mike Lee, Ken Paxton, or could there see somebody on the outside, someone that took on Letitia James yesterday? And then, of course, Department of Energy, the name that keeps popping up is someone from an energy-rich state, and that is Governor Doug Burgum, who was the running mate, was certainly a finalist there. Governor, welcome. Your thoughts about being recommended for so many different positions with the Trump administration.
Well, Brian, I think the first place to start is just to celebrate this historic win by President Trump. Under Biden and Harris, we had drawn our country into two proxy wars, one with Russia, one with Iran, and also a Cold War with China. And now it's only been 48 hours. President Trump, the world is preparing for peace. I mean, we got a new sheriff in town, and President Trump's policies, whether it's maximum pressure on Iran, whether it's making sure that America is going to be dominant in energy, which is key to all the diplomacy we do with every country in the world. This is game-changing already, so very exciting time. And I said these policies are going to lift up for everybody. If you're a Democrat, independent, Republican, doesn't matter whether you voted for President Trump or not, you're going to benefit from these policies of having a safer world, a safer border, and a stronger U.S. And so very exciting time. And people are flocking. The talent that is showing up. What's very different than 2016 when President Trump won unexpectedly. I mean, now, every position he has, there's 20 qualified people banging on the door wanting to get a job. And I know that President Trump and his team, fantastic choice with Susie Wiles. They're going to have the pick of the litter in putting together a fantastic team to help drive our country forward.
So there's a couple of things. People look at North Dakota. They know you have this tech center expertise, too. You know Silicon Valley inside and out. You made a lot of your wealth there. But then they look at North Dakota and they see how oil-rich and energy-rich it is. Third in the nation for crude oil production, and natural gas leader and exporting 82% of its natural gas out of the state. It's got coal, home to the world's largest known lignite deposit and seventh largest coal-producing state. So people think naturally energy. But I also noticed you've been doing a lot of traveling international. You have a lot of international contacts. What's that been like, and how does that possibly change your thought process?
Well, Brian, as you know, President Trump and I were both outsiders, both business guys. We both got elected for the first time into public office back in November of 2016. In that perspective, I mean, my spending, 25 years building global companies, had people working for me in all over the world. One of the things that I understand right now is that in addition to the global competition we have between great powers, President Trump understands everybody wants access to our markets. That's why tariffs are going to be such a powerful soft diplomacy tool. President Trump also understands that we're in a AI arms race with China, and to have AI for the U.S. to win that arms race, which affects every job, every industry, affects defense, we've got to have more electricity. He understands that. And so the combination of things. So I had a chance to be in Israel just over 4 weeks ago, meeting with President Netanyahu. 2 weeks ago, I was in South Korea with President Yoon. I can tell you, world leaders are excited about President Trump being back in office because they know that the policies are going to support allies, and we're going to have maximum pressure on our adversaries. It was just the opposite under Biden and Harris, who were still, running the old tired Obama playbook of appeasement with Iran. So it's a fantastic new day in terms of foreign policy, and I can tell you firsthand, our allies are excited about having President Trump back in office.
Have you talked?
And I'm telling you this, everybody, the whole point, you just heard Doug Burgum, North Dakota has so much energy, and it's insane. So this is a super, super important chart that a lot of people don't see enough of. So when you look at where the deficit is at, you look at when was the last time we actually had a surplus. So whenever it goes below the zero, that's whenever we actually had more money and we didn't just spend it all. So this is crazy right here. We haven't had a surplus in 23 years. It's going to be 24 years after this year. Well, now we've got Elon Musk, who's coming onto the scene, who said that he's ready to get America back into a surplus where we can actually start paying down the debt and help to do what? Make sure that we're not just spending every single dollar that's coming in, and we're being more fiscally responsible with our money. Check this out.
President-elect Trump telling me about Elon Musk's potential new role in his administration. Musk is aiming to cut $2 trillion from the U.S. budget. The U.S. national debt is now closing in on $36 trillion. Joining me now is Virginia Congressman Ben Klein. He's a member of the House Judiciary, Budget, Appropriations, and China Select Committees. So, Congressman, we were looking forward to having you on the program to get your thoughts on Musk's plan. Is that doable, to cut $2 trillion out of the budget?
It absolutely is. I'm a member of the Republican Study Committee, which is the policy arm of the Republican Conference, and we've come up with a balanced budget in 7 years. The Budget Committee's put one out that balances in 10 years. We can do it and make sure that we focus funding toward the American people and not toward bureaucracies in Washington.
But you can't do it without touching entitlements, can you?
You can, but we have to make sure. Joe Biden has sat by while Social Security and Medicare are going bankrupt in 10 years. We have to make sure that those programs are not just existing, but vibrant and successful for future generations. So we want to actually examine how we can improve Social Security and Medicare for future generations and actually keep them going long term.
And would your first attack be at all of these spending, all of the spending on the climate change agenda? I mean, give me one idea in terms of what's significant that you think that's got to go right away.
Well, let's just look at the Department of Education and how billions of dollars stay in Washington funding bureaucrats whose simple goal is to interfere in the decisions about educational choice at local and state levels. Parents are getting their decisions overridden by bureaucrats in Washington who have never set foot in their home, in their community, in their school divisions, and don't know anything about how to educate their kids. So scaling back, block granting, a lot of the education money is a way to get the money to the localities, but not with all the rules and regulations.
Okay, well, let's talk China for a moment. Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Let me tell you this, the biggest thing, I'm telling you, because I like to show y'all the actual evidence of what's going on behind the scenes, because it's not just about like They say they're going to cut spending. Well, what government waste is out there? Watch this, because this right here will blow your mind, what you're about to see. And I'm going to show you the receipts of what could actually be done with our government spending. Check this out.
This, Mr. Secretary, is a bag of bushings. This bag of bushings, stamped out by machinists, don't need a high school diploma. It's not anything high tech about this. Nope. All of this bag is compliant with the FAA specifications. How much do you think the Air Force pays for this bag of bushings?
I don't know, Congressman.
$90,000. This is a $90,000 bag of bushings that you need for any jet turbine engine just to operate. So
y'all hear that? They spent $90,000 on that little bag right there of bushings for the aircraft engine, jet engine turbine. So check it out. I bring the receipts, everybody. You can go online, find these engine mount bushings. And look at this. There's probably 100, maybe 120 bushings in that bag. They spent $90,000. Look here. You can find some for $5, $15, $40. It's corrupt, everybody. You could literally have spent maybe $2,000, $3,000 for that same bag, but the government spent $90,000 of our hard-earned tax dollars on that stupid bag of bushings just because they can. That's where they talk about the industrial war complex and how there's so much money in war and with all this stuff. And that's why we have to get things fixed. We have to get the right people in there, get the cost cut down, because if we don't, we are literally going to just, be in so much bad debt. But thank God the Dream Team is going to make it happen. But that is just one example, everybody. I just showed you. There's nothing about it that's crazy. They're just spending our dollars, and it's so easy for them because it's our money. It's not their money, it's our money. One of the other amazing people that's going to be in Trump's cabinet, check it out.
A potential VP pick. He has served a full term as Housing and Urban Development Secretary in the first Trump administration, is now the founder of the American Cornerstone Institute. Dr. Carson, it's always good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. And I haven't heard your reaction to this huge win on Tuesday night for Republicans and for former President Trump. What are you thinking?
Well, like so many people, I'm absolutely thrilled that the American people demonstrated that they're not stupid. They didn't fall for all the gaslighting, which was just over the top. And they opened their eyes and their ears, and they believed what they saw and what they hear instead of what the pundits are telling them. This portends very well for our future. And then I've been going around to a lot of universities with Turning Point USA and seeing the reaction of the young people. It's incredibly encouraging that they're getting involved.
That's a huge point, right? The vote of young men across this country, that was a huge part of this voting block of support for President Trump. And we're going to get into it a little bit in the next block. But, your thought on black vote, Latino vote, the male vote, what do you take away from it?
Well, one of the things that has been a hallmark of President Trump is recognizing that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
And rather than getting involved with identity politics and this group over this group, his policies have worked for everybody. And I think particularly the Hispanics, the blacks, many minorities have recognized that his policies have been extremely good for them, and they were doing much better under those policies. And they're not asking for any special favors, just equal playing field.
Just two more questions for you. There was a lot of turnover in the first Trump administration. What do you think the lessons learned from that are, and what do you think we might see working a little bit differently this time around, Doctor?
Well, first of all, Trump was coming in with very little knowledge of Washington, D.C., how it works and who the people are. That's not the case now. So I think that makes a big difference, putting the right people around you. Also, he's going to have a Senate that will proceed with his picks. You know, when I was there, it took them 8 months to okay a deputy secretary, 5 months for any assistant secretaries. Made my job a whole lot more difficult. So that's going to change. So I believe we'll probably be off and running pretty quickly.
I know as a doctor, you care a lot about the health of this country. There's been a lot of discussion from the Robert Kennedy Jr. camp about making America healthy again. I just want to play this soundbite from him. This is on Wednesday, talking about the fact that he believes some entire departments of the FDA, quote, have to go. Listen to this.
In some categories of workers, there are entire departments, like the nutrition departments at FDA, that have to go, that are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids. To eliminate the agencies, as long as it requires congressional approval, I wouldn't be doing that.
I think what he's getting at in part there is that, you know, American kids are not healthier as a result of the work of some of these agencies. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, there are 4 million executive branch employees in the government. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
And I'm not sure that all of them are necessary. So what he's talking about is, you know, comparing what they're supposed to be doing to what they're accomplishing. And in many cases, it probably would be good to make some wholesale changes. And you can always hire back the people who are doing a good job. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Trump is coming in to clean house. So this just broke of what he's saying about the immigration and what's happening, because Trump is starting to detail out the deportation plan, you know, post-election. Because remember, he said we got to have mass deportation. We had mass importation of all these illegals. Now we're going to clean it up. He literally said, Trump says there is no price tag on his mass deportation plan. Let me know if you agree with that or not. I certainly do agree with it in the sense that we don't know. And when you don't know, there is room for a lot of bad things that could happen. And in order to put the American people first, remember whenever they said $5 billion was too expensive for a border wall, but yet we're spending $156 billion on illegal immigrant benefits. This is how insane the Democratic side's thinking is, but that's not, they didn't care about the money because it's taxpayers' money. Who cares? We're always gonna get it, because remember, you don't get a choice to pay taxes. You don't get to say that I don't want to pay into Social Security or federal taxes, because if you don't pay, they'll put your butt in jail. So for the politicians, they don't care, these career politicians, but yet, whenever it comes to actual policies to put America first, that's where Trump is at. But there's another person who just came out against essentially Trump, saying, look, Trump ain't gonna do nothing about us. Listen to this. This is crazy, y'all.
This 68% of Americans said the American economy is headed in the wrong direction. And I do believe this wasn't so much a repudiation of Kamala Harris. She's kind of a footnote in history. I think Joe Biden is going to go down as one of the worst presidents in American history.
Absolutely. Well, let me put up on the screen. I think we're going a little early in my ear with the noise here. But if we can put that down, the music, thank you. But earnings of the lowest income workers. Let's look at these charts, and I'll start with you, Steve Moore. Average weekly earnings for low wage workers under Trump was 8.5%, plus 8.5%. Under Harris and Biden, down 1.5%. That is a 10% drop. Add to that Biden-Harris inflation, 20, 30%, 40% in some cases, depending on what product it is. You know, add to that $1.50 more for gasoline, and you're talking about the average family, what is it, $13,000 a year more than they were paying 4 years ago for the same items?
That's right. And what was really historic about this election is, in your and my and David's lifetime, I think this is the first time a Republican actually won voters with incomes of less than $50,000. And so, and by the way, the big constituency that voted for Donald Trump for Kamala Harris was the very richest people. The cultural elite love what Joe Biden did because they don't care about inflation. They don't care about the fact that there's crime on the street. They don't care about people's real incomes falling. And this is a historic realignment. Donald Trump has made the Republican Party the party of the working class and even, struggling lower income people.
Yep.
Yeah. This is what I think is amazing, and I think people really need to grasp this, and I want your answer, David, on this, is if you look at all the Hollywood stars they brought out, Beyonce and George Clooney and Julia Roberts and Oprah and Ricky Martin and Lady Gaga, great. And they had the entire, legacy media in their corner, and the American people didn't care. They voted about law and order. They voted about open borders. They voted for their economy. They saw a world where we have war in Europe, war in the Middle East, and peace and prosperity in the end drive elections, don't they?
The only one group in which the Democrats did better now than they did in 2020, the rich. The rich can fly above all those problems. They can fly first class above all those problems. The rest of us have to walk on the ground and deal with all these issues, not just the price of butter, by the way. It's the price of crime. Steve mentioned crime. We got to beef up our security. We can't take public transportation, so we got to pay more for Uber. There's all kinds of things that the woke policies force us to do now that cost more money. The falling test scores, you got to increase the tutorials for your kids if you want them to pass because you're not getting good public education anymore. The migrant crisis is costing more for city government. So taxpayers, the stuff that they're paying taxes for, the parks and the places where you send your kids to in the summertime, you can't do that because they're filled with migrants. All of these woke policies add into just the price of butter and the rising prices of the things that we need. So it's not just inflation alone, it's the other things that cause people to pay more. And the worst thing is people feel more insecure and they have less freedom and they have less time because they have to worry about all these other things. That's what this election was about. It wasn't just inflation alone, the price of eggs and butter.
I'm telling you what, everybody, it's amazing where things are going. Andy, thank you so much for the super chat. And just like I said in the chat, everybody, even the United Nations, Elon Musk came out and said that these weren't elected by the people. They shouldn't have any power over any country unless they're elected by the people. I love it. Y'all show Andy some love in the chat, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. Y'all are amazing. I love bringing the show to y'all every day. I love seeing the chat, the community that we're building. It's so awesome. I love every single member. Love you all who are watching. And just want to say thank you for your support. Thank you for everybody that gives a super chat donation. And thank you for just being here while we continue to want to give you the truth, show you what's really going on, and just make sure that you are informed. We love you all. We appreciate you so much. And we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.